Чекай, тобі почалася трансляція?
Ну, якщо там йде, то йде, так, це працює.
Ну, подивися на Ютубі.
Якщо там каже, то йде.
Ну, подивися на Ютубі.
Дивись, бачиш? Он має сюди.
Так.
Іде, так? Окей.
Okay, this is our first broadcast from a new studio in a bomb shelter. We're gonna try to make such wrap-ups of the latest news from Ukraine on a regular basis, but this is our first time, so don't be hard on ourselves. We are a bit nervous. But we're gonna talk about some stuff that has happened lately in Ukraine, and let's talk about our guest, whom we will have an interview with during our next broadcast and live stream for patrons. This is a guest, a special one, a Ukrainian soldier who defended Mariupol last spring. He was one of the Ukrainian heroes who left at Azovstal Steelworks. This was the latest stronghold of Ukrainian resistance in Mariupol, in southeastern Ukraine, in the encircled city, which Russian forces besieged for, like, if I'm not mistaken, for 82 days. And his name is Ilya Samoylenko, with the call sign Gandalf.
Okay, so
Yep.
let's start from the very beginning. Today with you is Serge Havrylets.
Alya, Shandra.
And Alya, Shandra from Euromaidan Press. We're an independent media outlet in Ukraine. And we set up a bomb studio to talk to Gandalf, Ilya Samoylenko from Azovstal. He awed the world with his eloquent description of how the Azovstal defenders were resisting the Russian invasion for you said 80 days. We have to check that number.
I think 82 days.
Yeah. He unfortunately did not come today, but we decided to make our first test broadcast from this studio, which we made in a bomb shelter.
Yeah, that's an important thing, because even today in the morning we had a massive missile attack on Ukraine. According to the general staff of the Ukrainian armed forces, Russia launched 30 missiles early in the morning, and Ukrainian air defense took down 29 missiles. So probably Patriot's air defense system is okay, despite Russian claims that it is damaged. CNN lately made a claim that Russia how did they say that? They referred to U.S. officials on the condition of anonymity, and claimed that Russia actually damaged American-made Patriot air defense system that defends Kyiv, which is a dubious claim, actually, with no evidence whatsoever. And today, in the morning, we could see that a Patriot air defense system is probably okay, because Ukrainian air defense system actually took down 29 out of 30 missiles, which is outstanding.
This is just a recurrent topic in recent days after a very long pause, maybe several months of basically no large-scale missile attacks. Russia is sending lots of missiles every night, and especially it is trying to target Kyiv, which is
especially in May.
Yeah, it has led some analysts to suppose that it's trying to. It has like. It really wants to break through the air defense that's offered by the Patriot missile system, and every night it's trying to overwhelm Ukraine's air defense in order to break through. But each night, Kievans hear the sounds of air defense working, but there have no missile impacts reported.
Yeah, time for fun. A joke that I saw on Twitter yesterday. Ukrainian losses according to Russia, and the meme like this. I'm not sure you will see it. Probably, maybe. I hope so.
No.
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 Okay, so I can tell you that according to this cool meme, Ukrainian losses are T800 Terminators destroyed, 12,468 robots, X-Wing fighter from Star Wars, 1,022, Transformers, 36 robots, Pokemons, 845, aircraft carriers, which Ukraine doesn't have, 9, Death Star, 5 pieces, and so on. And even T-Rex dinosaurs, 683. So actually, you know, for Russian propaganda, probably a Patriot is a concerning issue, which is kind of a new HIMARS for them. And probably Russia would destroy more Patriot systems than Ukraine has. Like they destroyed more HIMARS than Ukraine has, and it turned out that most of them were decoys. So right now Russia is really going for a Patriot system. They want to destroy it, and they use hypersonic
to prove that their equipment is better
than the Western
equipment. Yeah,
yeah, which
so
is
far they're not succeeding.
Which is actually not true, because Ukrainian air defense using Patriot system made impossible things. For the first time in the world history, a hypersonic missile, Russian missile, Kinzhal, or Killjoy, as British Intel refers to it. So this hypersonic missile was taken down by Ukrainian forces in the beginning of May, and it was one missile which Russian forces launched against Kyiv to reportedly target a Patriot air defense system. So instead, a Patriot air defense system took down that missile. It was the first time. And on the 16th of May, last Tuesday, Ukrainian air defense system, probably Patriot, because Patriot is good at taking down ballistic missiles, which a Kinzhal missile is. It's a hypersonic ballistic missile. So Patriot took down 6 Kinzhals last Tuesday, which couldn't be a coincidence or just an accident or anything like that. It is just another evidence that Ukrainian air defense got much stronger.
Okay, so the latest from CNN is that the Patriots, they were slightly damaged, but remained functional during the attack. So it's unlikely that they were hit directly by the missile. It's more likely that the debris from the destroyed missile just fell and made some minimal damage. Okay, so Patriots continue to protect us, but we see that today we have explosions in Crimea on the railway station.
Where exactly?
In Crimea, let's see.
Jankoy, probably. Maybe. I have missed that.
It's in the Simferopol region of
Oh,
Crimea.
That's
Okay.
interesting. Yeah, it's Sevastopol.
No, it's near Simferopol.
Probably. Yeah, I'm wrong. Yeah, it's Simferopol district.
Mm-hmm.
Something happened in close to Simferopol, in occupied Crimea in southern Ukraine, and Ukrainian forces actually keep targeting Russian military infrastructure in Crimea and southern Russia, in Krasnodar Krai, which is close to Crimea, for weeks now. Ukrainian drone attacks, probably Ukrainian, because nobody knows, actually hit a number of oil depots oil refineries in Krasnodar Krai, which is close to Crimea, and in Crimea also a railway, if I'm not mistaken, a railways junction in Jankoy. Jankoy is a key logistics hub in Crimea. Actually, Crimea could be a trap for Russian forces because of the limited supply routes. They have only 2 supply routes to Crimea to supply Russian forces in there. The first one being a Crimean bridge, which connects occupied Crimea with Krasnodar Krai in southern Russia. And the second one is the so-called land bridge, which Russia secured last spring when they occupied parts of Kherson region, Kherson Oblast, Zaporizhzhia Oblast, and Donetsk Oblast, Mariupol actually, which was defended by Azov and other Ukrainian defenders like 36th Marine Brigade, and Ilya Samoylenko was there, our next guest. So unfortunately, Ukrainians were encircled in Mariupol, and Russia managed to secure this land bridge. But this land bridge is the only way to supply Russian forces in Crimea, and apart from the Crimean bridge. So if Ukrainian forces manage to cut off the supply routes via Crimean bridge and this so-called land bridge in Zaporizhzhia Oblast and Kherson Oblast, Crimea would become a trap for Russian forces. And that's probably something that is common. If we look at Ukrainian operations, drone attacks on Russian logistics in southern Russia and Crimea, something is common definitely. I don't know what Ukrainian plan is, but definitely this is no good for Russia, because Russian military infrastructure, logistics, transportation networks, and so-called ground line communications in Crimea are vulnerable for Ukrainian attacks right now. So today we saw something I don't know how to call that, something bad that happened in Simferopol. A Russian freight train crashed, and nobody knows why. Maybe that's Ukrainian partisans to blame, or it was a drone attack. It's uncertain right now. Coming back to Russian missile attacks. In May, Russia intensified missile attacks on Ukraine. We've been seeing a lot of missile attacks and kamikaze drone attacks against Ukraine. Even this morning, Russia launched 29 missiles against Ukraine. 39 missiles against Ukraine, and 29 were taken down by Ukrainian Air Force and air defense, and 2 kamikaze drones were taken down, and 2 recon drones. So it was a massive missile attack on Ukraine, and 6 of these missiles were Russian cruise missiles Kalibr, 2 cruise missiles Iskander. Iskander K is actually a missile that is able to have a nuclear warhead. And Patriot air defense system in Ukraine is a game changer in this war, because it is able to take down all ballistic missiles that Russia is using for nuclear strikes. So right now, Russian nuclear threats they are not as dire as before, because Patriot actually is able to take down any Russian nuclear warhead, especially in Kyiv, because right now we know for sure that one air defense system, Patriot, is working in Kyiv, protecting the Ukrainian capital. Ukraine has 2 batteries, and it's 20 launchers of Patriot defense systems right now. Who delivered those? The United States and Germany, if I'm not mistaken.
and I believe the Netherlands, and a third country.
Yeah, the Netherlands delivered radar systems for Patriots, if I'm not mistaken, but not the launchers. I might be wrong on this.
Another game changer that Ukraine recently received are long-range missiles from the UK, the Storm Shadows, and that has also been very helpful for the Ukrainian offensive. We have seen a number of strikes far beyond the front line where HIMARS could not have reached previously, and coincidentally all of these strikes were in Luhansk Oblast, which is in Donbass. So, as you were telling, that Crimea remains the likely target for Ukraine's offensive, that Ukraine will try to cut off Crimea. So the question is, why did Ukrainians start targeting the targets depots and military headquarters in Luhansk Oblast? And one possible answer for this is that it's easier to evacuate all the military facilities from Luhansk into Russia, whereas in Crimea they have nowhere to go, they're landlocked, and so Ukraine will be able to target them a little bit later. So they were trying to target the objects that could get away the quickest.
Important thing to say about attacks on Luhansk is that Luhansk Oblast actually has the border with Russia, so Russia doesn't have any problems with supplying their invading forces in Luhansk Oblast. 99 or 98% of Luhansk Oblast is already occupied by Russian forces, and Luhansk is a key logistics hub for Russian forces. It was out of reach of HIMARS, because HIMARS has only okay. So Ukraine has multiple rocket launchers. American multiple rocket launchers, HIMARS, which were delivered to Ukraine last summer, and they changed the tide of war actually in Ukraine, because Ukrainians used HIMARS to attack Russian military infrastructure behind the front lines. So, but the problem with HIMARS is that Ukraine only has rockets for HIMARS with an operational range of around 70 or 80 kilometers, and so Russian forces, after the first attacks on Russian ammo dumps, oil refineries, oil depots, and logistics transportation networks behind the lines with HIMARS, with Ukrainian HIMARS, American-made HIMARS of Ukraine's armed forces, Russians changed their logistics, so they actually pushed their ammo dumps further to Luhansk. Luhansk became one of the cities which was out of reach for Ukrainian forces, Ukrainian artillery and HIMARS. So that's why right now Luhansk is actually full of Russian forces, full of ammunition, full of oil, full of fuel for Russian forces. So Ukrainians reportedly started to use Storm Shadows with the operational range of around 250 kilometers. An expert version of Storm Shadows, British missiles, Storm Shadows, has this range, and it is fairly enough to hit targets in Lugansk, because Lugansk is located, if I'm not mistaken, Lugansk is 130 kilometers from the front lines. So Ukrainians started to target military infrastructure of Russian forces in Luhansk recently, and this is something new. So Russians will have to adapt to that and push their fuel depots, their ammo dumps, and everything that is important for their war effort further inside the occupied territories, and even maybe inside the Russian territory in Russia. inside Russia. So right now, Ukrainian forces started to use storm shadows. We haven't seen attacks on Luhansk for a couple of days, I think, but we don't know. Maybe that's related
yes, but
to.
it was a concentrated effort before that.
Yeah, but before that, we saw a lot of explosions in Luhansk. So, if for Ukrainian counteroffensive, which is not just a banzai-style attack, it is a complex operation which involves targeting Russian military infrastructure behind the enemy lines, behind the front lines. So, for Ukrainian counteroffensive, it is important to damage Russian military infrastructure, Russian logistics, Russian transportation networks behind the front lines, which Ukrainians keep doing on a regular basis for around 2 weeks now. So Russia replies with missile attacks and kamikaze drone attacks on Ukrainian cities. Since the beginning of May, Russia launched a huge number of missiles against the Ukrainian capital, Kyiv, and probably the Russians were in search of the American-made Patriot air defense system. We don't know, but that's probably reasonable for them to try to destroy a Patriot system, because when Ukrainian counteroffensive starts, a Patriot system can actually cover the entire occupied territory in southern Ukraine, the Kherson Oblast and Zaporizhzhia Oblast, and take down all aerial targets in the zone where Ukrainians will launch the counteroffensive. So it is important for Russians to damage that system. So probably Russians use Kinzhal missiles to do that, because before Ukrainians couldn't take down Kinzhal missiles, and nobody actually could. Russians claimed that this missile is impossible to take down, but
we see that it's not impossible.
We see that
Ukraine is proving every day that nothing is impossible when it comes to the war.
Ukraine does the impossible.
Okay, so thank you very much for tuning in to our first ever broadcast. We promise that we'll get better in the next ones. We hope that this studio will host many interesting guests who will tell us about their experience in combating Russian aggression and building a new Ukraine. So, until next time, bye-bye.